First win for Australia, who would have thought, in their third game of Cricket World Cup 2023. And you thought it would have been a cruise, but in the end, not quite. Not a cruise. They won, you would say, maybe comfortably with 5 wickets, but
5 wickets, 15 overs would normally be comfortable, but again, there was an almighty scare at the beginning.
It was 81 for 3. Australia were at one stage, and at that time 209 was
209.
Target was 210. 210. So 81 for 3, 210 did seem very tricky, but from there on, Labuschagne and Inglis, both Inglis and Labuschagne did very well to bring them back. It's good on Inglis, exactly a day after England lost, that he's been able to make a comeback. One day later, the Inglis is back. The Inglis wouldn't have been easy when England lost. Next day, Inglis
gets
bounce back.
Yeah.
It's a bounce back.
Yeah.
Otherwise, English would have had to be in a similar position as England. Could have been that sort of a game had they not recovered. But I think that's where the quality of Labuschagne comes into play.
Yeah.
I think there were many people who were doubting whether he will be a utility player for Australia. In fact, looking at that lineup, he did seem to be the weak link, and he wasn't, if you remember, part of that original squad of 15. And then when he was brought in, I don't think
he didn't play the first game.
A lot of people, I think he did.
No, first Carey played. India-Australia, yeah.
So did Labuschagne. Yeah, English didn't play.
English.
No, but Labuschagne, Harshit, wake up.
Hand me a coffee.
No, I'm not going to fuck. I need it. I said Labuschagne wasn't part of the 15 when he came in.
True.
People had a lot of doubt as well that whether he could be that utility player. But what he's showing you, and I think he might be an important player for Australia, what he's showing you is that today he stepped up. And in these conditions, and you're going to get a lot of these pitches with these sort of conditions, you will need players like Labuschagne.
True.
And, Steve Smith's other one.
Yeah.
It's another matter, Steve got out for a duck.
But no, that's a good reason, all the more reason to have Labuschagne in the team.
Look at the fact that you're looking at, if you want to look at key players in every team, you need an anchor, you need somebody to be that accumulator. It's the ODI format. You're let's say in no hurry as you are, let's say, in the shortest format of the game. In India, you've got Virat Kohli, the second most prized asset at the moment. When you talk about that middle order again, KL Rahul, who is that accumulator of sorts. Here, Australia have a second after Steve Smith, who's been dry on runs of late. Then Labuschagne has been doing that. Kane Williamson, let's say, for New Zealand. For England, you've got Trott. Best teams have an accumulator in the middle.
You know what? I think Labuschagne would be the one in danger now that Travis Head is potentially coming back.
Maybe not.
Smith?
Smith.
That's the problem.
But I'll tell you why. Travis Head, and I think they will make a big mistake.
Warner.
Travis Head is a similar player to the Warners, the Mitch Marsh, Maxwell, Stoinis, all of that. Okay, aggressive batter and a good batter at that. No doubting his qualities. One of their standout players, absolutely. Will also chip in with some off spin and all of that. I agree. My only point is, and I think that's one of the major reasons if people are trying to figure out why is it that two pre-tournament favourites in Australia and England are not doing well. I'll tell you, and now that you've seen a few games, I mean, there is this one reason which is very obvious why they're not doing well, is the fact that they thought and looked at ODI cricket as an extension of T20 cricket. Just as India were making the mistake of looking at T20 cricket as a shortened form of ODI cricket and trying to play ODI cricket in T20, just with a few tweaks here and there, and that's where they proved to be unsuccessful. What the other teams are doing is trying to play T20 cricket and just thinking it's just an extension of T20. It's gone to 50. And I think the biggest guilty party here is going to be England because they came with that mindset. You had Joss Butler come and say, Don't call us defending. We are aggressive. Not even defending champion. We don't like the word defend. All of that. That was very good in terms of headline making and all of that, attracting eyeballs to the statement that you're making and also sending a warning signs to team. It's all very well there, but in terms of results on the field, it's never going to help you, which is why I think each team needs to now realize that the kind of condition that will be on offer, you will need not one but multiple anchors, because someday one of those anchors, so you just can't go in. And I think England is just going in with one anchor, Joe Root, who also, by the way, has evolved into becoming a much aggressive batter.
Yeah.
So you're effectively not going with multiple anchors. What helped Australia today, and maybe because Head wasn't around, otherwise Labuschagne wouldn't have gotten a chance. Today, one anchor in Steve Smith gets out for a duck. By the way, interestingly, I was just reading, it's his first duck in World Cups. So the first time he's been out for a duck in World Cup. That stat may still be misleading. He may have been out for low scores, but it's just that the first time he's been out for a 0 in a World Cup game. I'm saying that today he got out, and then if you had all other same sort of batters, it would have been a problem, because from 81 for 3, they could have very well lost the game. Because they had a Labuschagne there to really set the innings straight. You've been allowed to do that. And I think that's what England is lacking. Maybe they need to again change their batting approach.
They will, because now Ben Stokes, once he's fit, then he plays that role.
Root, and maybe even Malan might have to.
Malan, the problem is that he plays one way throughout, which is contrasting, because if you look at his way of playing in T20Is, it's accumulative. But in ODIs, that's aggressive, because you're batting at 130 strike rate.
No, but he needs to change that to.
But he has the caliber. He has done it. He has done it.
He has to do it.
He has done it.
That's the biggest difference between India and other teams. Because what happens? Teams like Australia and England play on true pitches back home, and where it's like a true bounce, ball's not gripping much. You just see and hit through the line. All you need to do is tackle the pace, and in fact, that extra pace helps the ball really go to the boundary and comes onto the bat. So in those situations, they get 300, 350, so you can play with that aggressive approach. Here, where the pitches will turn, grape, there'll be double paced on an occasion, where slower balls will come into play. There you need to be an accumulator. Be sensible with your batting. Hit a few, accumulate. Not everyone, but about 2 or 3 batters in that 7-8 batting lineup. You would need 2 or 3 to be able to do that. The rest become aggressive. Which is why the most successful team in this tournament so far, the 2 most successful team, India and New Zealand, which are looking invincible at the moment, both have this. They'll have enough people to play that kind of a role, and also people who can be aggressive. That's what you need to do. England and Australia came here, and we all thought that they're going to be so, number 1 contenders, because we had seen them play in those 2 pitches. In Australia, in England, in South Africa. So there you would play through the line, get 350. Here, these batters would need to adapt. You can still play a bit of an aggressive cricket. Some guys, like Mitch Marsh did today, but that's with the new ball. When you're facing the new ball, as soon as the ball gets slightly older, you'd have to change that. And that is what Australia and England need to do if they need to be successful in this World Cup.
True, no, absolutely, because they do need to adapt their conditions, or rather their style, because everyone thought, okay, you're going to get truer pitches in India as well, but generally speaking, you've seen maybe so far not that many which have played true. Ahmedabad obviously normally does, and now you're getting to the Bangalores and Mumbais, but you have seen very...
Look at Delhi for that matter. You saw 428 scored here, and at the same time you saw 285 being well defended, turning out to be more than competitive total.
Correct.
With India as well, the other day when they played Afghanistan, it was on the same track that you saw when South Africa played their match over here against Sri Lanka. So again, you look at the fact, pitches again, and I would say that South Africa perhaps got the best batting pitch at the moment. If of whatever 15 games that you've seen in the World Cup, there's been just one flat deck, let's say, which has really not been of any assistance to the bowlers, and that was the one in Delhi in that game. Otherwise,
the first trip,
Ahmedabad also wasn't that flat a road as people were thinking, because your spinners got you wickets the other day.
Today, I'll tell you, Australia could have lost from 81 from 3. I suspect there would have been a bit of dew there in Lucknow. Also, because it rained there. it would have been kind of wet, wouldn't have allowed the Sri Lankan spinners to be as
Grip the ball.
effective as they would have been on other occasions. So, kind of made it easy. Had it been a, dew-less sort of an evening, no rain also around and nothing wet in the outfield, and the ball would have been dry, I think on the same track, they would have found it even tougher to chase down, like England found out in New Delhi versus Afghanistan. So you're going to get these pitches, which is where these teams need to adapt, which is why teams like India, New Zealand would look good. But I think that's why I'm not going to write Australia off, because if there's one team that can play in different gears, they can be the team that can scare you, but they can also be the team that can be gritty. Because I tell you, they have experience, right?
Yeah.
So a David Warner can also change gears. We've seen him do that in the IPL, where he's not always going to be a dasher. If need be, there have been occasions where David Warner has batted the innings. When I say batted the innings, maybe 17, 18, 19 overs in that T20 inning, playing very different kind of cricket, where he is the anchor and others are attacking. So David Warner, once he understands the conditions and this is what it's going to be, he can be that batter. Steve Smith definitely can be that batter. The only thing I'll point out about Steve Smith, he needs to now, and I think teams have found him out, we used to keep talking about his technique where he shuffles a lot and yet was being able to be successful. And we used to all wonder, like there's such a glaring, sort of an issue or a problem with his batting, yet why are the teams not being able to exploit it? Sometimes we saw, him getting bowled around the stumps as well, but those were rare occasions. Mostly he would get runs. If you notice, I was looking at his last 4 or 5 dismissals, they are either bowled or leg before.
So that shuffle.
Yeah, teams have realized that, he shuffles. If you keep giving him width, either bowl, down the leg, he'll chip you off, or you bowl outside the off stump, he'll keep playing because, it won't be too fast because he shuffles. So it comes into his comfort zone. Any further, it'll be a wide anyway. Now I think they've realized
Stump to stump.
Bowl stump to stump. Either he hits or he misses. We're going to be successful. So there, either you will see his leg before or he's getting bowled. I think versus India, he was bowled, if I'm not mistaken.
One in Nipper.
Yeah, he was bowled. And then
WTC final. Yeah.
He has been.
Shardul.
He has been, leg before. So that's one thing that teams are now picking up about Steve Smith. And he's a fantastic batter. And I have no doubt that even once he starts realizing, and because he thinks about the game so much, spends so much time doing shadow practice, net practice, all of that, he'll also keep thinking and then try and find a way then to ensure the bowlers have started doing it. He'll come up with another plan to rectify that, which is why I say a Warner can do that, a Smith can do that. If Labuschagne continues, he can do that. So now English, by the way, showed you today that he can play different kinds of innings as well. He can be an aggressive batter, but can also play like that. So that is Maxwell. I don't think can. Stoinis I don't think can.
No, they play one, right?
Yeah, they don't.
One dimensional.
But that's okay. So long as you've got like 3 or 4 guys that I just mentioned in their batting lineup, which can do it, then you get the right balance. Which is why I'm saying I'm still not writing Australia off. And for some reason, I still see that they will make top 4. They will come good.
Yeah.
They will make.
I think that's exactly what we all said in this very room even when they lost their second match. That this Australian side can still not be written off. They may not be looking as good to finish in the top 2, but certainly they are a side that can make it 3 or 4. Turning out to be the case. Let's see what lies ahead for them. But they do have the credentials, I would say, for them to be finishing 3 and 4 or 4.
Yeah, definitely. No one doubted the fact that they'd be, making it to the top 4. They had probably a very tough start, tougher than probably anyone of the top sides.
Yeah.
And I like the point that you made the other day, that if India had the kind of run-in that these guys had, then maybe you were looking at India losing at one of those 2 games as well.
100%.
You're still accounting for that loss at some point in the round-robin stage, right?
Correct.
India still could lose a couple here and there, or maybe one game. You lost in 2019 in 11 as well. You drew to England in 2011. So again, that 1 loss, 2 loss here and there, and still you make it to the top 4. That always can happen.
Correct.
So yeah,
it's like, that's what I mean, because why I said that I still back them, because I know a lot of people have just written them off after those losses, saying they're done. Though they've gotten some favor from Pakistan losing to India and then India losing to Afghanistan. But why I said that was that when India went into this campaign, we all thought India will be top 4, right? But at the same time, we all knew that they have a tough draw to begin with, and while you expected them to do well, but you back of your mind also thought maybe there could be a situation where they lose to Australia.
Yeah.
And then maybe one bad day against Pakistan, they could lose, right? So, out of 3 games, they would have lost 2. So, India would have been in a similar position. That's why I said put yourself in the same shoes.
Yeah.
Had India lost those 2 games, which they could have,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been a miracle if they had lost those 2 games. Then would we have written India off? No. We would have said, right, they've had a bad start, there are lots of issues, you need to. But you would have still said, no, enough time. You've beaten Afghanistan, you need 5 more wins, and surely India can win those 5 games with Sri Lanka coming up, Bangladesh coming up, Netherlands coming up. 3 are those, and 2 more wins you could have looked for and said India makes it. And I think we need to then extend that same logic to
Australia
as well.
In fact, I remember what Pat Cummins had said in the build-up to that India game. He said that, okay, yes, there's going to be support for India, but we're very acclimatized to these conditions. We know these conditions very well. We were here 6 months back. We just played a 3-match series here. It didn't go our way, but then we won the previous one. We played the IPL here, so we feel pretty much at home. When you add all of that experience, there's absolutely no reason for them to be traveling anywhere and feel
slightly different now. Slightly different to the bilateral.
Yeah, definitely.
And by the way, why I was really interested in this game, it's been played in Lucknow. Now we've seen, I think, 2 games being played in Lucknow.
have.
Correct.
Yeah.
Australia, by the way, moved from number 10 to number 8. Not too much of a jump, but they're making progress. And I'm sure by the end of the group stage, they would have hit that top 4 mark. But I'm just going back to the Lucknow pitch. We're kind of getting an idea of how the Lucknow pitch is. Well, I'm just happy about, because there were a lot of doubt whether the pitch is going to be a minefield. It may not be at all viable to have any decent 50 over matches, because we saw it in the IPL. So there are a lot of doubts, but they really hit the pitch, and then the time gap wasn't much. But I'm happy, at least it's producing decent one-day pitches.
So I will say that the Lucknow pitch is probably the most sporting pitch you've got. It has something for everyone. If you dig in, you can bat well here. Bowlers are getting assistance early on. Even the seamers early on were getting the ball to move. It's the most sporting pitch you've got. Not one-sided at all.
That's right. So why I was interested about this pitch. India play England there.
Yeah, and there's one more match which is set to happen. I think Netherlands are taking on, I don't know who it was, but they're taking on someone, and it's one more game which is happening on this pitch.
I think
before
I've been
that.
surprised with the Delhi wicket as well. I think it's been new in some way. The stadium definitely looks new, but the pitch as well. Again, there was 700 in excess of 700 runs scored in the first match that was played at the Arun Jaitley. But again, the Afghanistan match as well, they got to 285. India again, did well that day. But again, it's not that low turnout that you thought Delhi would be.
But Delhi, I'm not now.
It's written off now.
I don't care much
because we
it's
played.
done.
Yeah.
I'm bothered about India is going to play in Pune. India is playing in Lucknow, which is why I said it's good to see the kind of pitch that you're getting. And if a similar pitch is going to be there versus England, then I fear for the English team. I think it's tough for England to be beating India on these pitches that we've seen in Lucknow so far. Of course, as Shane mentions, that there was going to be another game. So we'll see that game. But pretty much the trend that there is in terms of the pitches that are in offer in Lucknow. So India, I think, should take care of England. So that's going to be another big win coming India's way. Conditions favouring, unless they have a very bad day, that's another matter. Look at the points table. Let's just cutting to the points table. India well and truly on top. As I pointed out, 2 most dominant teams, 3 matches, 3 wins. India, New Zealand right on top. And look at India's net run rate. Today, Australia had a chance to improve their net run rate because of the 2 big losses that they had. They slightly made it better. Still not, in the positive. They're still in the negative. But Australia from last have moved to 8th. Sri Lanka there, below them. Netherlands. Afghanistan, look at the jump with that 1 win that's given them. They've gone to number 6. England not really, suffering much after that loss. Still in 5th position because of the earlier wins that they got. Pakistan still in top 4 despite that India loss. So, it's going to be very interesting between Pakistan, England, Australia, all of them, South Africa maybe, all of them fighting. But look at South Africa's net run rate.
That's what I was saying. South Africa, by the way, their next game is against Netherlands of all teams. So if they get a big win there, then that is shooting up.
They go number 1.
They
go number 1 regardless.
They necessarily don't need a big win.
Exactly.
Just
they
to
get
win is
a
good
small
enough to take them to number 1.
No, but they will get a big win and go.
They're going to target a big win for sure.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, they will. But Sri Lanka at number 9, what's interesting, and I just could not believe it. I mean, we can cover the points table, you looked at it. But I was just looking at some sort of stat. The last time Sri Lanka beat Australia in a World Cup was
96
96 final.
Never since. Never since.
1996 final, that amazing knock by Aravinda De Silva in a partnership with Arjuna Ranatunga. You know, first World Cup win for Sri Lanka, first World Cup title for Sri Lanka, and I'll never forget that game. Still very fresh in my mind. Played at Lahore, and they gave Australia no chance. They were chasing a decent enough total, just gave them no chance. Completely dominated. That was the last time Australia had lost to Sri Lanka in a World Cup. That says a lot. That talks about Australia's dominance in Cricket World Cup. So that's an incredible stat for me. Adam Zampa, by the way, is
the player of the match. 4 wickets for him.
And was that back to his what we'd consider his Imperial's best today?
They just couldn't pick him. They just couldn't pick him. I think of the 4 dismissals, 3 were leg befores and were all wrong ones. Wasn't picked a single time.
Up next for Australia. Australia's World Cup campaign is tough, and next up is Pakistan.
Yeah, but it's Pakistan in Bangalore. I would fancy Australia there.
No, I would, but I'm just saying, just look at their schedule.
Their schedule,
Their schedule, starting off, I remember before the World Cup we were doing this SWOT analysis, and I remember looking at their schedule and like, it's a bad start. Like, get through this unscathed in the sense that even if you lose, no, they haven't. That's the point. I was thinking if you lose by small margins, net run rate stays same. After that, you can go hammer and tongs, but now they really have to go hammer and tongs in every game.
The one team schedule that every team would have been envy of would have been New Zealand's. Just the one game against England, but look at the teams that they played. Now they're playing Netherlands, I think next they're playing.
Yeah.
So look at there and
next up India after that.
Yeah, but again they would have played 4 games by then.
And their finish is going to be tough.
Yeah,
it is.
But then, see, it works both ways. You look at the first half of the tournament, and then if you secured 4 wins, that's 8 points already.
I've already picked them to beat India in Dharamshala.
Have you?
Dharamshala, they would start.
Picked in New Zealand to beat India.
I'd say they start slight favourites.
I think that's the only loss India will have in the group stage. They'll finish top of the table.
Where are we playing? South Africa?
In Kolkata.
That could be another one.
I think
small boundaries.
See, 3 tough games for India. They of course qualified. 3 tough games for India: England, South Africa, New Zealand. Right?
Sen, basically.
So Sen out of the Sena countries. They've already dealt with Australia. So why do I think that they'll beat England in Lucknow? Because of the conditions there, and you've seen the approach of England. That over-aggressive approach not going to work. India far superior on that front. So they should take care of England in Lucknow. South Africa in Eden condition is going to be a good batting pitch. It also helps fast bowlers if that's the kind of pitch that you get there. I'm just going by the kind of pitch that we've seen the last few years in Eden. So that kind of evens it out. But I think the South African batting overall, I like what they're doing, but somewhere I know that the one problem they have is consistency. They are not too far away from a batting collapse. They will have one. Where neither Quinton will get run, no Markram,
no
Miller, Anderson, nor Klaasen.
No Miller.
They will have those few games, but they have a bit of a collapse. 3-4 don't get runs, then the rest bring you some. And I think India should take care of them. Also, Indian spinners would do well. They don't have too many spinners to really trouble India. The fast bowlers also, I think now this Indian team can handle.
There is no Nokia there.
Yeah, so exactly. I do not think that should be an issue. I'll give India the favourite stack to start in that game as well, also versus England. The only game where I think it's a 50-50 start is India versus New Zealand. It's a 50-50 start. And I'll give you an explainer. Why is it that I'm calling that game? Why is it that I'm saying that? I think India's first loss might come versus New Zealand in Dharamshala, because what are the 3 pitches that can be on offer? 3 possible pitches that can be on offer. One could be a spinning track. Okay, assuming if that is, I'm taking all scenarios into account. Though you can't change the basic nature of a pitch, but I'm saying I'll take all scenarios into account.
Okay.
Let's say if it is that sort of a track. I think New Zealand are outstanding spinners. Santner is better than even a Jadeja or at par with Kuldeep right now. I think he'll trouble your batters. And if they play Sodhi, if it is a spin-friendly track,
if they'll bring in Sodhi.
They are 2 very good spinners. So they'll have good spinners. They'll match your spinners. And Indian batters don't play spinners that well. Okay.
Barring just the one fellow.
Yeah. So and their batters are pretty decent against spinners. Without Kane Williamson, when I'm looking.
Yeah.
So I think even in that situation, they'll fight tooth and nail. Okay, it's an even game. Assuming, what is the second scenario? What is the second kind of pitch? Let's say it's a belter. It's just them a batting surface, go, hell for leather sort of a pitch. That's the second option. If India gets 320, this New Zealand team can chase 320
True.
on a belter against your bowling attack. They can chase it. So again, 50-50 game. Third option is it's a seam-friendly pitch. It moves around, whatever.
Trent
Bolt.
Their fast bowlers
And Henry.
all of that, and their batters are pretty equipped to play on those sort of conditions. Again, 50. So no matter what conditions you give them, they have the firepower to trouble you. Which is the reason I'm picking New Zealand to be. If India are to lose one game in the league stage, it'll come against New Zealand in Dharamshala.
For a reason, you're looking at either of these sides finishing up top at the moment. They look the most well-rounded sides at the moment as well.
100%.
Yeah. So, which is why. Can we take questions?
Sval.
Yes, Sval, please. There we go.
Ta-da. Okay, please take the question. Mehraj Rules from Canada. Thank you so much for your first part of your comment, Mehraj. Okay, there is only one part.
Firstly, but that's it.
But thank you so much.
Maybe he's sending another super.
We'll wait for that, but we are just doing our job, and it's good to see some good comments, because while we were doing it, I was told by my producer that we also got a lot of trolls also on our live feed, but that's okay. I don't look at the comments. We just come, say our thing, what we think is right, and move forward.
Shubh Bachchan. You heard some Shubh Bachchan in the comments.
Okay, let's take a few questions. Akash Bhardwaj says one match I'm looking out for is India, South Africa and Kolkata. I think that would be a close game.
If their batters fire, yes. If the batters fire, because the bowling doesn't give me that much confidence. Keshav Maharaj is probably the most uninspiring, left arm Chinaman.
Bad spinner.
Shreyas Iyer has taken him to the cleaners on multiple occasions.
Shreyas Iyer actually all spinners he'll take.
Yeah.
Look what he did to Shadab the other day.
Few spinners.
But Shadab's barely a spinner right now.
Yeah.
Few spinners are going to trouble him.
Tanmay Joshi says minnows and less competent teams like Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Netherlands, Pakistan, Sri Lanka can be party spoilers deciding. Do you see these teams upsetting England, Australia, England, New Zealand, South Africa like yesterday? I mean, you can never rule out an upset. But
yeah,
But I like the fact that he's put Pakistan in the less competitive teams.
less competent, not even competitive.
He said competent, has he?
I mean, their fielding does them no favors.
But you can't put them in the same bracket as Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Netherlands.
That's true. That's a little harsh.
Yeah, I'd put them.
I mean, Pak Sri Lanka are former world champions. Just put a little bit of respect on their name.
Yeah, I mean, nothing like Bangladesh again. Bangladesh also, I've always been a tricky customer.
They've caused so many upsets in the past. Bangladesh.
To themselves, you mean?
No.
2007.
2007. Then.
But with India, I don't know about other teams. I'm sure they can cause an upset. If you give them a spin-friendly track somewhere,
they will trouble you.
They will trouble teams. They will trouble teams because that's their strength.
Did Bangladesh not beat England also in 2015?
Yeah, they did.
So yeah, Bangladesh can be. Never know with Bangladesh actually.
They could, but with India somehow they play very well.
Always.
Fighting, and just at the last moment, near the finishing line, they just somehow panic. And this is a trend that we've seen it with India. We were just discussing that earlier. Few games come to your mind: the 2016 T20 World Cup game, the last year's 2022 T20 World Cup game, the Nidahas Trophy. A lot of occasions where they were clearly in a winning position, should have easily won the game. Most other teams would have. For some reason, Bangladesh just panicked.
Yeah.
And they'll panic despite putting themselves in a winning position. I mean, that 2016 game, they needed 7 of the last over. The first ball you hit
boundary
for a 4. Mushfiqur celebrates and then you bottle it from there. How?
Then he finds Pandya.
No, Pandya was bowling.
No, Dhawan. It was Dhawan. Then the second time was Jadeja over there in the deep. Mahmudullah, I think, found him.
I think it was him. Yeah. 3 of 2 and you still lose it.
Premature celebrations also we saw.
As always, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, GGK wants to know when Head returns, who sits out. He says Steve Smith. because Marner, Sheepfields, and Marsh both are in form.
They might just drop Warner.
I would go with Warner as well.
Put head at the top of the order. He plays there normally. Because
Then Smith.
I can't.
I don't
dropping
think
Marnus.
Smith,
Marnus
nor
are
Smith.
untouchable.
Dare I say Labuschagne could be there.
Why? What wrong has he done?
Not,
No,
but
what wrong has he done doesn't matter. No, it's about whose slot you're filling.
Yeah.
It's like if Ishant scored a double 100, he'd still be replaced by Shubman. No.
I think so. That's
But-
my gut feeling.
But the fact that Head can open the innings for you
guys
can.
play. You guys play.
I'll go with Warner going out.
Okay, I think Warner go.
No, I think actually Warner might be that option. I think Marnus is the first choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Even I think Labuschagne would go out.
Smith is untouchable. Not going
Yeah.
there.
Smith they won't drop, and I don't think they drop Warner also.
Could very well be his last World Cup. And in ODIs,
It
he's
is
been
his
fine.
last.
In ODIs, he's been okay.
Plus he's been okay. And it doesn't. He's a match winner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just needs to find the and he, as I said, he knows these conditions. He can adjust to these conditions,
Yeah.
change it from there. So it could be.
Miraj back.
Now he's come with the second part. He says, also, I'd like to ask you all, where would you place this World Cup in terms of just excitement, crowd, and all teams being balanced? For me, 2003 topped it with 96 being better than 2011.
Ooh.
Interesting question.
Well, it's too early to say where this World Cup will finish. It started off with not too much excitement, let's be fair. But I must say that after that India-Pakistan game, that got some excitement. Then the upset that Afghanistan have cost to England. I think now I do see the interest peaking. So the interest has started to peak now. So it's there. And will it be more competitive? Let's see a few more games, few exciting games here and there, few surprising results, and suddenly the table gets interesting. Teams keep moving up and down very fast. Things change. So
Yeah.
we'll have to wait on
Absolutely.
this World Cup. But in terms of the most exciting World Cup, I don't know, 2019 was quite fun, especially with the way the final played out.
19 was also fun because I think you got to see very consistent conditions throughout. So it led to a lot of, like, for neutral fans, if you're only looking for bang bang batting, you got that in spades in England.
You were seeing so many high scoring games.
Exactly.
You were seeing, and from an Indian perspective, you were seeing Rohit Sharma get you century every
For fun.
once in every 2 games.
For fun.
So yeah, it's good.
19 was good. For that matter, if you're talking about flat conditions, I didn't enjoy 15.
Clearly the best
15.
final.
Probably one of the greatest ODIs ever played.
Yeah, so 19 gets that. 15 wasn't great.
15 wasn't. It was too flat.
11 was good too. 11
Yeah, I
gave,
liked 11.
Gave you some good games.
In fact, I dare say 11 had a more consistent crowd buzz.
Yeah.
Yes.
It did. You know, also probably because, of course, 11 is 12 years back. T20Is weren't as much in the psyche as it is now.
Yeah. And the charm of the World Cup remained. Like right now, you're seeing too many ICC competitions happen as well.
Every
That's also
year.
something to be accounted for.
Every year.
Every year. So yeah.
I like 11, you can remember so many of India's game. That tie.
That tie against England.
South Africa.
South Africa game which you lost.
Lost.
But I'm saying, the other games like the quarterfinal versus Australia was exciting. Semi-final versus Pakistan.
Oh
was
yeah.
A lot of those games, the Ireland upset. Ireland beating
England. Kevin O'Brien.
So yeah, it was a good World Cup. 11 was good too. 7 though, don't remind me.
7 was
The
terrible.
worst of them, right?
7 had everything right from mystery deaths to upsets of the worst type. Nothing good about that World Cup.
3 was nice too, barring the final. But the rest of it was fine. But then we had a few games that teams had given up, not good to Zimbabwe. I think that spoiled it. 99 was a very good World Cup, barring the final.
Again.
Yeah, just the final. Only
Final
the
was very
Otherwise,
one-sided.
very exciting.
The semi-final?
No, actually, in 99, the semi-final, that one spell, that is the most.
Did Zimbabwe not create an upset, I think, in 99?
Yeah, beat India.
India.
Yeah. 4 runs. What was it?
Yeah, something like that.
4 runs, I think, India lost by.
So 7, I think, if I'm maybe they needed 30.
They needed 5, I think, of.
I was 3 years old back then.
Srinath's, I think, was the last.
Srinath was the last.
Andrew Alonga got him.
Yeah.
Akash says, I'm sorry, but New Zealand has come to India so many times. We have dominated them. Same happens on the 27th and 22nd, you mean?
22nd, but also.
Not possible, but I think it's a different scenario, different.
Exactly. You can't. ICC tournaments, New Zealand raised their game. So
Then there is like a very good sample size now spread across a few years.
Exactly. 15, 16, 19,
19.
21.
WTC, yeah.
I know 21 even they reached the final, no? World Cup. People tend to forget that.
Yes.
Of course.
They reached the final that year. Then even 22 they did okay, all things considered. Just got knocked out towards the end, but yeah.
Dex says it seems like Siddharth's favorite team, Sri Lanka, is hitting a new low every passing game. But his other team, New Zealand, is doing very well.
Yeah, his main favorite team.
But any thoughts on Sri Lanka?
I mean
Their
that was not unexpected. That bowling doesn't fill me with much confidence. Although Madhushanka has looked good.
What's happened to Vellalague? We were like
Needs
singing
spinning.
praises of him.
Not getting the right conditions. These conditions aren't conducive to his bowling. And yeah.
They're missing Wanindu badly. Really.
I completely agree. I think that's one major thing that they're missing. Wanindu Hasaranga.
And they don't have a good spearhead, in terms of their pace bowling. Who is their spearhead? Nobody.
There is no spearhead. Everyone is like a supporting actor.
Exactly.
Jamaica.
What does a young Vellalague do when he's getting no support around?
Yeah, but
And has nobody to look up
not
to?
doing well.
Patirana is himself a 21-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Vellalague will not be looking for inspiration from him just because he spent time with Dhoni.
Spinner versus fast bowler. Okay, Naresh Babu says till now 2023 World Cup matches are mostly one-sided. Are you expecting any nail biters going forward? If yes, which match would be that and why? I've picked mine, India, New Zealand, nail biter, coming your way.
Yeah, India, New Zealand, possibly. I think even the Ashes rivalry, Australia, England. You'll see both teams raise their games, and both teams have their own flaws. Kind of even it out. That'll be another one. Close game it could be.
There'll be a lot more. It's tough to predict which ones, but there will be a few.
I'll go with India, England.
Nail biter.
Could be. Ashish Dhar says, dear panelists, are we jumping the gun on declaring India as winners post beating Pakistan? I don't think we've done that. We've said they're favourites.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're favourites now. Winners is very tough, but I think even before the Pakistan game, you would have said that. Just the Indian team, the way they've been playing, the way Rohit's batting, the way your
Spinners.
fast bowlers in Jasprit Bumrah and now Siraj also last game of bowling. Then even Hardik Pandya, the bowler, has been outstanding. Your KL Rahuls of the world are getting run. Virat Kohli. I just like, they've ticked all boxes.
Yeah.
You can't look past it. Anyone you were to ask, if you had to pick one team that are going to win, nobody can be 100% certain. But if you put a gun to my head and ask me to pick one team to win the World Cup, I'd obviously say India. And if you were to ask anybody, they'd do that. Just looking at what teams have done, I'd be surprised if people don't pick. Maybe a few might say New Zealand. I don't know, one or two. But majority people that you speak to will pick India because that's how good they're looking. Not just about 3 wins out of 3. But also in the way they've been playing.
You restricted Australia to less than 200, 199 they got for. Then again, you made easy work of Afghanistan and then Pakistan. As good performance as you would have wanted as complete a performance.
Exactly. Karthikeya says that India's aggressive mindset gives me a lot more confidence that New Zealand aren't a big deal now. Rohit's aggressive approach is finally paying off, which he's been trying since he became captain. That last part is particularly true.
He also said that, Rohit said that he's been wanting to play these innings for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
What he said after that.
It's finally starting to come together for him.
What was interesting, what Rohit actually pointed out was that he said, see, in our team we have many anchors and people playing the same kind of cricket. Somebody has to take that lead of being the aggressor. Okay. I've been trying to do that and now it's paying off. So good on him. I mean, as captain, he's leading from the front, started to set a different sort of a template and he said, okay, I'll do it. You guys play the way you do. And maybe with that, we'll find the right combination of winning. And that's what they've done so far.
Also, what that does is actually it's gonna take a hit. His personal numbers could and have taken a hit in that regard. His strike rate's definitely gone up. His average has come down.
Also gone up now after these knocks.
Yeah, after these knocks, but again, if you have to make comparisons from 2019, but look, he also said it. He said I was looking good for 100 and should have gotten 100, but maybe it's this approach. So again, these things will happen. He will miss out on personal milestones, but if it augurs well for the team, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Captain ka balidan.
Miraj Rule says, what steps should ICC take to keep ODIs alive? How about bringing back the quadrangular series and have a minnow team like Afghanistan Island as 4th team? it's not about ICC doing that. I just don't think obviously these tri-series, quadrangular series would always be organized by some board, right? I don't think the boards see money in it anymore.
Yeah. I see also the problem is you've now given the fans a newer drug, which is more effective.
T20s.
So I want to go back to some more.
This is a nostalgia trip for certain fans.
I see again, personally, I like ODIs. It brings a different skill into play.
Oh yeah.
There is another charm to it, just as I like Test cricket because it brings another skill to it. But maybe we're not the right sample size. We're cricket romantics. It's our job to be watching cricket all day. So I'd watch any format and I see beauty in every format. Because as I said, everything is different. There's a skill involved. And someone who's very good in T20 may not necessarily be in ODI
and vice
versa for a particular reason. Because different skills are involved, which is what makes it beautiful. And strategies change depending on the format that you're playing. Bowlers' effectiveness changes. So I like that. But I agree, majority people don't have time to watch cricket all the time. So this is a problem. And I think I've said it earlier as well. These quadrangular series and all will be was the only thing that will keep the interest alive. I think bilateral ODI series can be done away with. So the only time you see some sort of ODI, now you just can't have ODIs every 4 years, right? The best is have a few quadrangular series by a few countries, and by invitation you keep playing. At least there'll be some context, qualification for the final, who beats who. It just keeps the
bonus points, all those things.
We used to have a lot of it earlier. In Sharjah we used to have a lot. Australia would regularly organize. Even India.
Even England used to have that thing.
India used to. I told you the first match that I saw live, '89. That was a Nehru Cup. That was the first match I saw live in a stadium. That was the final of a Nehru Cup between Pakistan West Indies at Eden Gardens. So that had all big teams participating. So those kind of things need to come back. They just disappear. Yeah. Last couple of questions.
Yeah.
Can you take? Yeah, please.
What's Rahul saying?
Okay, Fitmong wants. Is it true that there was not even a single Pakistani fan to cheer them up in Ahmedabad? Please clarify. No, there were about 3 or 4 Pakistanis there who had managed to get the visa and come, but they were also folks not from Pakistan. They were Pakistanis who were staying in other parts of the world. So a Pakistani was now a US citizen, a Pakistani who is now a citizen of Malawi. I interviewed him, and I think we put it up on Scotia, and then I spoke to a lot of other people. There were a couple more people like that. So at best there were 4 or 5 people who could come because they are now nationals of other nations, but maybe were born in Pakistan or are Pakistani, whatever.
By descent, let's say.
Yeah, I mean they now are whatever 2nd, 3rd generation American or whatever they are. So they reached, but yeah, there were no other Pakistanis. I again, they weren't given visas. I spoke to a lot of fans. I would, because if I'm hosting a tournament, either you have issues with Pakistan, don't invite them. Just if they've come, you should extend the courtesy of having a few fans coming. Every sport, no matter how big the animosities are, we allow the opposition teams fans to come in. There can be a handful. There can just be one area, one stand given.
Yeah, you dedicate a stand or you dedicate a.
And I agree that because you have to do a lot of due diligence, see the background and all. And I agree the government has to do all of that. I'm not an expert on that, and the government should do it. But do it. Start the process well in advance. The game is going to happen. People wanted to apply visas 2-3 months, so take your time and only approve a handful, 200. I'm sure you can monitor 200 people when they come into the country, right? You have that kind of intelligence, and give them city-specific visas. So just give them a visa to come to that city, watch the game, and go back. You can keep a track on 200, 300, 400 people. I'm just saying, right? There's a handful. Sure, can be done. So maybe they can see that in the future.
Ashish sir asked, can the time gap affect India's momentum against England? I doubt, to be told. Won't matter.
They would be cherishing that time.
Exactly. They would want that.
In fact, I remember what Bumrah said. What do you look forward to? He said that I look forward to some downtime now, because we played a few games in the first week itself, and you look for downtime as well. So maybe there'll be some recreation for some of the Indian players.
Vishal Panchal says the umpire's decisions in review seem dicey. Goes either way, something should be done. But goes either way is why you have umpires call.
Yeah.
It's not an exact perfect science.
I know he may be referring to
Warner.
David Warner was rather upset, but then umpires.
And maybe Steve Smith the other day as well. Australia weren't that happy.
Yeah.
But that's what umpires call is for. Can't help it.
Technology.
I mean, see, there are people who say umpire's call shouldn't be there. Either it's out, it's not out. But if you ask my personal opinion, I think umpire's call is a good thing because the technology they say is not 100%.
100%.
Exactly.
Leaves a
Yes.
margin. So if that margin, leave it to the umpire's naked eye. There was a time where umpires took the full call, right? So trust the umpire. If he thinks it's out, then he would have given out in real life. You review it. If it is hitting the stump marginally, and umpire has given it out, so it's out. If the umpire actually thought it wasn't out, so he gave it not out. You reviewed it, it was just clipping. Leave that margin for error
Yeah.
and assume it wasn't hitting. I think that much you have to do. So I don't mind the umpire's call. I think it's good knowing that the technology isn't 100%. Otherwise, anything that is touching, if you want anything touching should be out, then bowlers will end up with far more many wickets.
Yeah.
And batters would consider themselves unlucky on a lot of occasions.
True.
Earlier, remember, umpires would give benefit of the doubt to the batters so many times. That will just go out then. Every time it's even just slightly touching, it will be out. So I'm okay with this system personally.
Fine.
So shall we?
Yes.
On that note,
Yes, of course.
many thanks for joining us. And Australia have now registered their first points on the points table. Exciting days coming up.
Absolutely.
From tomorrow, we'll start our build up to India Bangladesh. Various things to look forward to. As always, we look forward to your company too on Sports Today, right?
Absolutely.
And on that, good night.
Anything else, Coach?
ना तो good night बोल दिया.
बोल दिया?
Bye.
They are shit.